Hello, my name is Debbie, owlandgatorstitcher. Welcome to Flosstube number 33. Today is Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. This is a video mainly about cross stitch, sometimes about what I'm reading and watching and life thrown in. If you're a new viewer here, welcome. I hope you like what you see and click on that subscribe button and leave me a comment. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really enjoy interacting with you on every video. Well, it's been about 3 weeks since my last video, and don't have a lot of good reasons why. I was going to try and film a video last week, and the time that I had to do it, I was reading a book and I just kept reading it. It was a really good read and I really wanted to see how it ended. And by the time I finished it, there wasn't a lot of time for filming and doing the stitching I wanted to do, so I just decided to skip it. So I doubt that any of you were waiting on tenterhooks, waiting for that video to come out, but I'm here now with showing you even more stitching. So at the very end of April, I went to a retreat that was hosted by Brick City Cross Stitch. It was a 3-day retreat, but I got a day pass and only went for 1 day. So I went on the Saturday, and it was a lot of fun. It was the last full day of the retreat. And so at that point, a lot of people had settled in and got to know each other and had all the little jokes or whatever. But I just, I go to these retreats, and if I don't know anyone there, I just find an empty chair and sit myself down, and I ended up sitting at a table with 4 lovely ladies. They were actually all stitchy friends that they live on the east coast of Florida, but they had come to that retreat, but they welcomed me, and it was just a really great chance to sit and chat with them as well as other people in the room. I think for all of you who have been to retreats, you know that you don't just sit with the people and talk with them, but you get a chance to walk around and see everyone else's stitching. So that was a lot of fun to attend that. And I also hopped over to Brick City Cross Stitch in Ocala to make some purchases as well, because one cannot go to a cross stitch retreat without buying some stuff. I challenge you to try and do that. But it was a lot of fun, and I am glad that I had a chance to do that. I am also signed up for a couple more retreats this year, so I hope that I'll be able to make it to those as well. In terms of my stitchy journey, I have actually a finish to show you, as well as 2 starts and some progress on some other pieces. So why don't I go ahead and show you what I have. So the first thing I'm going to show you is my finish, and this was sort of an unexpected finish. Let me show you it. Here it is. It's a little finish. It was my smallest piece, and it is Whipping Up Freedom by Stitching with the Housewives. So patriotic or Christmas, you can decide which one it fits better on. I think they designed it obviously as a Christmas piece with an Americana theme. I guess if you didn't like it, you could just take these red stripes over instead of the blue and white there for the stars on the bowl. This was a lot of fun. It was a relatively quick stitch. I started this at the very end of 2021, and basically because I do a lot of challenge groups. And a number of times over the past year, they've been like, pick up your smallest whip and put 200 stitches in, or pick up the thing that you're closest to a finish. And the reality is, because this is so small, I put in a few stitches and I have the fewest stitches remaining. So percentage wise, it wasn't necessarily what I had the most done, but again, the way I looked at it, closest to a finish, I looked at it as what has the fewest stitches to get me to the end line. So that's where this is. So let me see if I can, it's not quite focusing on that. But basically this is, I use the DMC conversion that she provided, and it is 2/2 on 32 count linen. This is Seraphim fabrics in the colorway Timberwolf. So yeah, just a cute little stitch. Had a lot of fun doing it. I did try and put my initials and the 22 on here, but it just, doing backstitch on this dark fabric, it wasn't working. It looked really, really bad. So I just said, you know what, I don't have to sign everything. So again, a lot of fun. Glad I had a chance to work on that. So thank you to Stitching with the Housewives, Priscilla and Chelsea. This is actually a pattern I won on a giveaway on their channel, so I was glad to have a chance to stitch it up. So I also, as in the No New Starts group, but I am doing Work Your Whips, which means that periodically you can earn new starts. So the first one I want to show you was one that I earned because I had finished the Narnia piece, which I showed last time. And I spent a lot of time talking about this piece last time, about what I was going to do. So just to refresh you on what it is, it's called Reading is Magical. So this is from The World of Cross Stitching, which is a British magazine. So I am converting a lot of my colors on this because I really, for two reasons. One, I really wanted to use this gorgeous fabric, and two, and the colors didn't match. And then secondly, I decided to use this for Magical Stitches Mystery Year. There's a year-long DMC challenge, and there were some colors that I did not have on any of my projects that I could find, so this was a good one to do. So here's where I am now on this. This fabric, which I think is absolutely amazing, is from Valkyrie Stitchworks. She has a Facebook group. Someone saw this online and was asking me about it, and I went and looked at her group, and I don't think she's dyed anything in a while. The group still exists, and she's also the person who is running the I think it's Stitching in the Springs retreat that's in November this year. So right now I do have plans to attend that. But anyhow, I did a center start on this because I didn't cut down the fabric or anything. So I just decided, and by the time I'm done, there's not going to be enough to save anyhow. So obviously I put this, so you got a few of the letters, and then these two colors here were for the random DNC challenge, so I put them in, and there were not 100 stitches in those things, so I found places over there that they had to go. And then as I was working on this, this is the danger of doing cross country and sort of just really jumping to meet challenges. Every now and then you count off from the wrong thing, so I did the green one first. I think it's 957, I can't remember. Anyhow, it's either 955 or 957, something along that. Anyhow, I put all this in, counted off something. I didn't have all of this in. I just had probably a couple hundred stitches in that. And then I went and put this one in later, which is 24. And then I started putting in, I think I started really getting this R in, and then I started to realize it's, I thought the way that this is set up, if I count it off by one or two, it doesn't really matter because this sort of little banner thing is a freestanding thing. So I thought if it's one off, I can easily fudge it. It's not one off. It's probably 10 at least off, because I think I must have counted off, like I was looking at one of these little flourishes here and I counted off the wrong thing. So I have decided I am at this moment not going to pull that out. I am going to put in all of the wording and do all the other, the other stitching, and then see if this is something that does need to get pulled out or if there's a way that I can fudge it. Again, this is, no, I probably need to open this up so you can see the whole thing. This little bit here, so it's, again, that's why I said if it was one stitch, it wouldn't be a big deal, but because it is, I think it does help give shape to the whole pattern, so I'll figure that out later. That's a problem for future me, and future me may not like past me, but that's the way it is. So that was my first start. This is considered a medium project, and it replaced my Narnia piece, which I finished last month. My next new start, which I earned because I had a successful album check in April. So this is World Peace Angel from Lavender and Lace. This was a piece that the pattern I got from a friend of my mother's. She's a stitcher, and I have seen some of her work, and it's some stunning work that she has. They actually, where my parents lived, they had a little display of needlework. Most of it was sort of quilting, but she did have a piece displayed, and it was absolutely stunning. But anyhow, this is she had old patterns that she either had done or she knew she wasn't going to do, and she offered them to me, and so I took some of them. So this is one of the ones I took. She clearly had done this pattern before because it's a pattern has been taped back together, and it's lavender and lace, so that is a bit of a challenge. I can read the pattern, but I was really trying to hope I could Xerox it and make a working copy, and that just I just have a little printer at home that has a copy function, but it just because it's off-white it's sort of a yellowish paper, so but to do it in black and white it wouldn't work, because then there are also some red symbols, which I think is they do it deliberately, and if I had a modern copy machine it probably would come out fine, but when you have an average printer it doesn't come out fine. So I'm just working with the original. I mean, it's already not in great shape, it's not like I'm going to be damaging it more. I'm not highlighting, and you'll see how much I've done. So up to this point, it hasn't affected me. But literally, I had been putting off this start. I really wanted to start it, but as I've mentioned before, I don't love the physical starting. I like kitting, I like stitching, I like finishing a project, but the actual starting, there's something that just sort of, I don't know. I think it's that fear of, am I doing this in the wrong place, and am I going to put it, in 5,000 stitches and realize I've oriented it wrong on my fabric, or I've done something. I don't know what it is. So I don't love doing it, but I love stitching, and not only can you not get to the end if you don't start, you can't even get to the middle if you don't start. So I put in literally one length of floss. Woohoo! So you can see there, all the way up there. So all of that is a, it's just the top of the world. So this is literally like 30 stitches or so, 35 stitches, not many. This is a 32 count linen. It's a gray fabric. I don't know who, I purchased it at my LNS, but my local needlework store, Victoria and Rose Needle Arts, but I didn't, maybe there was a label on it, but by the time I got it, I think she had a full piece, and I asked for a fat half. So she did cut it down for me, but I think maybe the label stuck with the other piece. So I don't actually know what this is, but it's not a hand dyed. I think it just, well, I mean, who knows? There is very light modeling in this, but anyhow, it's a gray fabric. So, which is very close to what the original is on. I think the original was done on Weeks Dye Works, as it was called then, Confederate Gray. I think it's now just called gray. And if this isn't gray, I don't know what it is, but it's not. This is not Weeks fabric. It must be a Wichelt because it's quite stiff. So anyhow, and it's gone. So anyhow, that's what my start. I don't know why I keep holding that. There's nothing really for you to see. So those are my two new starts. So I am still in the Work Your Whips for no new starts, and I'm enjoying it. I have another piece that I really, really, really want. Well, I have two pieces I really want to start. I'll show you one of them in a little bit, but that one won't probably get started until later in the summer when I get my next free start. And then I have another one which is a medium that I'd like to start. Hopefully I can get a medium finished. But anyhow, now on to my stitching. So the first one that I'm going to show you, this is Portrait of Veronica by Mirabilia. I think you've probably seen this around quite a bit. So this is where I am. This is one of my Whip Go pieces, and it's also coincidentally a piece for Letters of the Month. I am doing the skin 1/1, and so while I did put in a few black stitches here, I had a piece of 310 that just needed to be worked in. I really want to get all of her skin done sooner rather than later, because I think the dress is the fun part. So all those stitches in that arm that you can see right there, put that in, and that is over 400 stitches of the little X's. So I'm about to the crook of her elbow, and then we'll come down like that. But obviously this is just one color. It is at least for her upper arm, this is the bulk of the color. So I'm glad that I'm getting towards her elbow, and then we'll get to come down, because I think once I get that done, this piece will go much more quickly. I love stitching on it. It's just like all my other pieces, I have to sort of make a decision. And I'm sorry if I keep looking over to the side, you hear her. My cat has decided she wants to be in the room, and I need to have the door shut because my husband's watching TV in the other room. So now she's undecided about what she wants to do. So she's on top of my empty Ziploc bags making noise. So apologies for that, but maybe she'll make an appearance a little bit later in the video. And I'm sure many of you would like that. The next piece I worked on was a little cake shop. This is the regular size max color. This is artwork by Aimee Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And I used the Q-snap. So you can kind of see a little bit here. This is a poster here with some teacups. So I finished this poster, and this poster is mostly done. There may be a few stitches in here that I still need to do. Again, poster, the top part of the poster, it goes down. I think this is a picture of a cake here. But I needed to put in pink stitches for a couple of my challenges, so I went and pulled some pinks. And so basically I did a little bit here between the two posters as well as here. And while there is some pink here, we are getting to sort of the end of this wall, which is the side wall, and then we get to the back. So the pink is going to stop soon. And I like that. I like pink. I'm fine with pink, but it will be nice to get to some different colors in this, given that it is max color and it's fun to work with all those different colors. So that's where I am for Little Cake Shop. Next piece that I put a lot of work on since I saw you last, this is Long Dog Sampler. This is Anzak. I'm sure you're very familiar with this pattern. I am using a sulky thread on this, monochromatic. And here is where I am now. And I just realized for all of these, I forgot to put in, say, here's the before picture. So sorry for all of the jumpiness, just trying to find the place to put it in. But anyhow, here is where this one is now. So I've put in over 2,000 stitches since the last time I showed this. So basically I got the two koalas here. I got one of the kangaroos in, finished this sort of star, and then started working down here. So the kangaroo is standing on top of Australia, if you're looking at a map. So I was trying to figure out, I'm like, what am I stitching here? Because, you know, you get all these fun animals that pop up, and I'm like, this doesn't really look like an animal. I realized because it's not, it's because it's Australia. So anyhow, a lot of fun, love working on this. Again, because it's monochromatic, and it just, you know, thread my needle and I just fly. So I'm enjoying it. This was the first monochromatic piece I've done. And so I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. And I really am enjoying working on it. And I see more long dogs in my future. May try and get a little bit more experimental with them and do them maybe not monochromatic, but, you know, 2 or 3 colors, accent colors and things like that. And, you know, maybe some other fabric that isn't just white. But again, I wanted to see how I felt about this before I sort of got really creative, because sometimes my creative juices go in directions that I regret later. But anyhow, that's where I am for Anzak. And I'm over 12% done with that pattern now. Very excited. Next piece is one that when I pulled it out, I realized that it had been over a year since I worked on it. I have the little stitch cards in I keep them with all my projects, and I realized the last time I worked on this was April 2021, I think. Yeah, because I started this in May 2020. And so that is Mandala Giraffe by Awesome, I always get the order wrong, Awesome Pattern Studio. So that's where that is. And here's where it was before. And here's where it is now. So basically I started, so I did a lot of work in this horn, and then like the colors that I needed, then I was just pulling down. So obviously bringing a lot more down into his nose area, and doing some work in his ear. So this is, and some of the work around the eye. And so it's just been a lot of fun, sort of working on it. It's been a lot of fun working on it. The reason why I pulled this out was I think it had its birthday, and I realized that, you know, I said, why don't you just work on something that you want to work on, rather than trying very hard to, you know, follow all the challenges. And I thought that's a good excuse to pull this out. And one moment, please. I'm back. The cat was scratching the carpets and stuff and really wanted to get out, so I freed her. So anyhow, so it was good to pull this out and have a chance to work on it. And it's considered a medium project, so I may push at some point to get a finish on this sooner rather than later, so I can start my next medium project that I want to work on. And now for some of the pieces that I show, not every video, but almost every video. The first one is, and I keep using this as my backing piece, and now I don't know where it is. Here it is. Sorry about that. So here is Old World Map. This is the large version. This is Artecy. So here's where it was before, and here's where it is now. But perhaps we should make it right side up. So basically what I've done here, I had pulled out, excuse me, I'm getting distracted. I basically just was working on the colors in here. So I did, this is a lot of 3770, which is that sort of pale peach color. Put in a lot of that there and started pulling some colors. There are some stitches in here that I still haven't done. So pulling the colors from there. So I think it's like 3829 that I just started pulling and coming up here. So yeah, it was good to have a chance to pull this out. I was trying to work on this every day since it's my oldest project, but the reality is I felt that it was really disrupting my flow to do that. It's not like this is something that's close to a finish, and so I just said, you know, make sure you dedicate time to working on it, but don't feel obliged to work on it every day because it's sort of messing up your mojo and not letting you do what you want to do on other things. So so I put in about 600 stitches yesterday on that, for example, and I know I put in some other stitches before then as well, between my last video and now. Next piece I'm going to show you is High Intensity by Artecy. This is the cropped version. So there's that handsome guy there, and here's where it was before, and here's where it is now. So basically I've just been working mostly on this background here, so a combination of 310 and 3371, but every now and then another little fun color comes up. So this really is just sort of bringing down the background. So you can see now his head here, this is all background. Because it has been quite some chunk stitching, block stitching, when I pick it up, I am able to work relatively quickly on it. So it's coming together really, really nicely. I'm really enjoying working on this. I hope to get some quality time with him in the next few weeks. And then the last piece I have to show you today, which I did not bring the cover photo for, but I showed it so many times, so as long as this isn't your first time, you've seen it before. But this is Cats in the Toy Box, and here is where it was before. I'm sorry for banging the camera there. Here's where it was before, and here is where it is now. So this is really my focus project for the year, and so I am I don't work on it every evening, but a lot of times it is my go-to in the evenings. So basically I sort of finished. I maybe have a couple stitches left in this kitty. There is some cry neck that needs to be done, like under his chin here, but for the most part this kitty is done, and again a stitch or two in the handle of the basket needs to be done. But other than that, I sort of have been going down and working on this a little bit here. So pulling colors that are in the doll's dress, as well as in this kitty's ear. You can sort of see where, so I am moving in this direction on this, but previously when last year when the Q-snap was here, I was able to get all the way down here, which is why the kitty is so done here, but not done here. But anyhow, coming together quite nicely. I really love working on this, and look forward to getting progress. I'm now over halfway done with this one, so I'm hoping that I will get it done by the end of 2023. So it will not be done this year, but my goal is to finish it next year. And it is, I think it's about like somewhere between 140 and 150,000 stitches. So that's all of the actual stitching I have to show you. I have some haul and some plans to talk with. So I didn't bring the projects for the plans, but I will continue to work on these 3 focus pieces that I showed you. I will work on Portrait of Veronica, which is one of my whip go pieces. And then I also, for letters of the month, so Oak Drive is one of them. I'm working on O and P. Yes, the Portrait of Veronica gets both, and then O, Oak Drive. And then my other whip go piece is Fabulous Women by Clouds Factory, and I haven't pulled that out this year, so the last time I would have shown it was in my whip parade in December of 2021. So it'll be good to pull that one out again and work on it. It's different than a lot of things I work on, so it's always fun when I do pull it out. So those are my general plans, and then just following whatever prompts I get. I have dropped out a few of my groups. I have sort of come to the conclusion that if it's pure counting, it's not necessarily the best thing for me. It doesn't motivate me, and then it just becomes tiresome to have to post in a lot of places. And again, I think the admins do a great job of coming up with all the different challenges. But if I'm trying for 300 stitches and I have to post it in 5 places, I just rather do 400 stitches and only post it in 2 places. I still am in groups where it's solely counting. I am parts of teams there, and I enjoy doing that. And I'm also staying in all my prompt-based groups because I do sometimes, when I'm looking for motivation and trying to decide what to stitch, those sort of point me in the right direction. So whether that's Whip Go or it's, Magical Stitches Mystery Year, sometimes the prompts just make me pull out something I haven't worked on in a while. So now for my haul. So at the retreat, there was a freebie table. So I picked up this one. This is a Paula Vaughn Leisure Arts leaflet. And this is Through Her Mother's Eyes. And I think what I really like about it, obviously it's the mother with her daughter who's a bride. But then what I think I really love about it is when I look at the mirror and her mother sees a little girl holding a doll. And I just thought that was really sweet and touching picture. So I thought this is one that I think would be, fun to do, and just something a little bit different than a lot of the Paula Vaughn stuff that you see. I mean, it's just sort of, I don't even have kids, but it gets you right here. So I thought that was really sweet. And then what was sort of funny was I was going through the album of someone in the No New Starts. I was just looking at what she was working on, and she actually had this and she was working on it. And so glad to see that there are people who pull out a lot of these vintage patterns and work on them. The next one I have, all I can say is I did it. So I pulled it. There's, whenever I watch Flosstube, I keep getting ads for Invisalign, which is, in my opinion, poorly targeted because I've gone through Invisalign. It was fine. It did what it needed to do. I'm not going to purchase it again because it's one of those things that you do once, hopefully. And if you do it, as long as you follow their instructions and you wear the retainers every night, you shouldn't have to go through it again. But there's an ad where there's a girl who has regular braces and someone says, don't do it. And she eats popcorn and gets them all in her braces. And she's like, I did it. And she's got popcorn everywhere. And that's kind of how I feel about this. I did it. I jumped on the bandwagon and I got, this is Heaven Earth Designs. This is the Grand Library. This is the supersized max coverage, which I think someone said was 750,000 stitches. So it is a lifetime project. You can see I've already sort of written down, like based on the various fabrics, what the fabric size I will need. I have not purchased the fabric. The earliest I will start this is August. And the reason why I say that is I'm still trying to stick to No New Starts. And after August or September is when I'll get my next freebie. And I won't miss it. This falls under the BAP, Big Awesome Project category. And I will not have any BAPs finished this year. I'm okay with that because even the smallest full coverage I'm working on, which is High Intensity, the Jaguar, it doesn't actually qualify as a BAP. It's a large project. So, but it's not going to focus very well, or if at all. But I just love this. I think I'm actually going to buck what I normally do, and I am going to do a center start in this. And the reason why is, again, is this something I'll finish in my lifetime? I have no idea. But I think what the areas that I really like, so I love the fire with the kitty and the doggy and all of that. And then I would probably come over in this direction towards the romance area. So I think if I'm not going to finish the project, at least work on the areas that are, get the enjoyment and seeing the picture come to life in the areas that I would like to see. So that is, and I got this one, Paid had a sale. So it was like $10 and can't beat that for, 20 years of enjoyment. And then when I went down to the retreat, I went to Brick City Cross Stitch, as I mentioned, and I made some purchases. So I got the next 3 in the series for In the Woods by Cottage Garden. So this is the raccoon. This is the ferret. And this is the bear. So I know a lot of people are raving about the bear, and I've liked all of these that have come out, but I actually do like the raccoon and ferret more than I like the bear. Just saying. No plans to start any of these soon. No idea if I'm going to do them individually or do them according to the seasons. Those are all issues when I get closer to thinking about starting them. Is something that I will do then. Also at Brick City, the one of the staff members there makes project bags, so I picked this one up. So she doesn't have a tag or anything, so I think you can only get them from Brick City. So you can see this lovely sort of little flower and little, I don't want to call them ladybugs because they're not really ladybugs, but patterned cute bugs, which I'm not really a bug person, but those are cute. And then some black and white check inside, which match some of the bugs. So glad I was able to get that. And then the last haul that I have to show you. So I think most of you are probably aware. Oh no, I have 2 things to show. Sorry. So let me first show what I think you've probably seen from a lot of people. Is the latest installment of the you know what? This is the old one. Never mind. I do have the latest from the Bird Crush Club, but that is not it, so I'm not going to show that one to you. So the I think many of you are aware that Sammy Jo from Sammy J Stitches has started an online needlework store. She's starting small, but she, so she's, maybe at any given time there's only 10 to 20 patterns available, but she does have accessories as well, and her daughter, who's a teenager, is also dyeing some fabric. And right now everything is on her Facebook group. She is building a website, but I'm not sure when that will come open. So if you're interested, it's called Tiny Hummingbird Stitchery. This was a thread keep that she included as a freebie in there. Nice to have that. And then, so here is, I did want to just try the fabric that her daughter had dyed. So this is an 18, it's basically a fat 1/8, 18 count Aida. It doesn't have a name on it. Yeah, cotton candy. So little pinks and blues. So you can see that. Again, no idea what I'm going to stitch on this, but nice to have it. And then I also got 2 patterns. So one of them is Celebrate Love from Madame Chantilly. So I do love all these tiered trays that she has, so it'll be great to have this one in my collection. And then I also purchased, from Market, she had Let Love Rain from Teresa Kogut, which is a book, so there are quite a few patterns. Well, there's 3 or 4 patterns in here, so if I can do this without, sorry, there's a pattern on the opposite page. So that is the sort of main pattern in this book, which is why I bought it, because I absolutely love this. But then there are some others in there, so there's a couple you can see on the back here. So if you want to change the world, go home and love your family is the one on the bottom. So that's sweet as well. And that little pillow at top, heart-shaped pillow. So I was really glad to be able to get that as well, because I had been eyeing that. I hadn't done any purchases from Market this year, so I was glad to be able to get that one. Had my eye on a lot of things, but didn't do any purchases. So that is all I have for stitching. In terms of what I'm reading, the book that kept me from doing my video last week was, it was called Sing You Home by Jodi Picoult. It is about 10 years old, so not a new release or anything, but it was, so parts of it are a little bit dated, but I still think it's very relevant. So it is basically about a couple who, I don't she's in her late 30s or early 40s, but she and her husband are struggling with infertility, and but then she's finally pregnant, and she fairly early on in the book, but she's like 7 months pregnant. She basically the baby dies in utero, and so just everything, all of the emotions and how it affects your marriage and all of that, and what you go through, and just sort of she and her husband, their lives fall apart. This is a big tragedy for them, and how do they pick up the pieces? But it also, as other characters appear, there's a lot of questions about gay marriages and the rights of gay partners, and what makes for a loving home for a child. Does it have to be opposite sex couple? Can it be a same sex couple? And the reason why I say it was a little bit dated, it did, I believe, come out in 2011, which was went before the Supreme Court decision that basically legalized gay marriage across the United States. And so at that point, it was done on a state-by-state basis. So this couple live in Rhode Island, and so how did the issues impact on them in Rhode Island? And so that particular issue in of itself right now is resolved in the U.S. We'll see whether or not it continues to be an issue, or whether or not the issue gets reopened, let's put it that way. But it's not as much about gay marriage as it is about the rights of gay parents, and should they be considered, equally in terms of if they're adopting child or surrogacy or anything, should they be considered equally? In my opinion, absolutely. But that's not the opinion of everyone. And this book explores those issues. And Jodi Picoult, she's an amazing writer, and she loves her court cases. So of course there's a court case in this. I would say the only sort of issue I had with the writing, and it's a small issue, but there is a teenager in this book, and I get it's a novel, and so characters are going to come up which only help to further the story. The story is not about them, but she does play such a pivotal role, and I feel she gets really short shrifted at the end of the book, and that really bothered me, because she's a troubled teen, and the whole reason why it's called Sing You Home is the one of the leads is a music therapist, and she's working with a student. And so it just, given the pivotal role she plays, and that you get to see like 4 or 5 years in the future about what happens with all the characters, and you don't hear anything about her. And again, I know it's a novel, but I don't need to know how it ends for everyone, but she was someone who I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about. And sorry, I have a scratch here. My kitty yesterday morning was a little bit too anxious to get fed, and I picked her up, and hind claw got me. Doesn't hurt, but I can see it on the camera, and it's driving me crazy. And so anyhow, and then the other book I want to, which is a totally serious in some ways, but fun, much more fun, was I Was Told It Would Get Better by Abby Waxman. It came out a couple years ago. Ultimately, it is about a mother-daughter relationship, about I think she's 16 years old, maybe 17, but she's a junior in high school, which for those of you not in the U.S., that means she has 1 more year of high school to go, and it's that last year of high school where you like apply for university and you do all of that. So basically, it takes place a week during her spring break, when she and her mother join basically they go through one of these a tour company, and they're touring elite colleges on the East Coast of the United States, and it's a lot about what do we expect from teenagers, high pressure, going to university, the importance of getting into the right place versus following your dreams, and the compatibility of that. But it's also in some levels about the standard mother-daughter relationship, and the author flips back and forth from the point of view between the mother and the daughter. So often, like, a moment in one will end, and it will immediately pick up with the other character. And what you get from it was, obviously, they love each other very much, but the absolute lack of communication, which is very typical of teenage relationships. So, but anyhow, I really enjoyed reading it. It's one of those books that I've read another book by Abby Waxman as well, and she's becoming one of my sort of favorite, like, fun contemporary authors. So highly recommend that. In terms of what I've been watching, we've watched a few things recently that have been interesting. So one was called The Dropout. It's about Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes, which you may or may not be familiar with the case, but it is basic. Elizabeth Holmes was a woman who developed created a company that was trying to develop technology that would basically, from a small drop of blood, be able to do a huge amount of testing for disease and genetic predisposition and lots of different things. And I remember reading about Elizabeth Holmes 6-7 years ago, and it was just, this sort of myth about her, about, how was she able to come up with this, basically very intelligent woman, but she dropped out of college. And how was she able to come up with this technology to develop these things? And if you follow anything in the court case now, it turned out that much of it was a fraud. So that going into this mini series that the company has failed. And so that's the ending is not the most interesting thing. And as far as I'm aware, she has been convicted, but she hasn't been sentenced yet. That's as far as I'm aware of where the status is of that. And she basically, what's interesting about it though is not is the culture that she created in the company in order to cover up the fact that that basically this equipment or procedure did not work, and the way that she was able to dupe large multi-billion-dollar companies. She was working with, like, I think Walgreens, and they name it in there. She was able to basically say, well, I know that you're out of touch and our technology is what will bring you in touch. So she was able to do all of that. It was quite fascinating what she was able to do. So that part of the story is more interesting than the fact, because you kind of know how it's going to end. The story was weak at a little bit at times, but Amanda Seyfried is I think that was her name. Anyhow, she does an amazing job in this role. I think, if you just want to see some quality acting and how she really pulls herself into the role, I recommend watching that. The thing that we're watching that's a little bit different, to say the least, is something called Russian Doll. It's on Netflix, I think, and it stars Natasha Lyonne. And we watched that because Natasha Lyonne was in Orange is the New Black, and we were really impressed by her performance there. So we said, let's see what else she's in. So we found this, and we watched the first couple of episodes, and we're like, not really sure if this is something we're going to really like. Sort of like Groundhog Day, where a woman basically goes through a day, or she's at a party, she comes out, she has, like, whatever, it's, sort of, I don't want to say an alcohol and perhaps drug-fueled party, whatever, everyone's having a good time, people in their 20s and 30s, whatever, and she then ends up sort of following her after she leaves the party, and she ends up dying. And all of a sudden she's flipped back, and she's back, like, there's basically, it always starts that she's in a bathroom at her friend's house, and sort of go, so you start it. So the first episode or two, it's very Groundhog Day in the sense that she keeps repeating the same thing over and over. But then she starts to notice it's not just what she does that changes things, but that things around her change, that she has no influence over. People who were there are no longer there. Like, she walks out, it's a vibrant party, and then, like, slowly every time she comes out there are fewer and fewer people out there. And but then basically at some point she meets someone who's going through the same thing she's going through, and they try and figure it out. So the first season is them about trying to figure out, why do they keep repeating the same day over and over. It's been a really long time since I've seen Groundhog Day. So I don't, what I recall of it, this is very different than that. But nonetheless, I did enjoy the first season. We're now watching the second season, so they have finished that day. Let's just say that. And now another wacky time issue coming up in the second season, but a different time issue. They're not just another day that we're repeating over and over. So interesting, very interesting to watch. And it's fun because I mentioned in my last video, we have been watching Orange is the New Black. And this is also another Netflix show, and they've taken a number of the actors from Orange is the New Black, in addition to Natasha Lyonne, and they're popping up in this. So it's great to see that some people are able to get people who are not traditional looking, for lack, people of color, and not your standard like little beautiful waif, but these women are able to get roles in other things, and Netflix is continuing to promote them. It's fun to watch. It's not as serious as it could be, but that's okay. Sometimes you don't need serious. So I think that is all I have today. I hope everyone is well, and I hope to be back in a couple of weeks. I may not come back until early June or maybe late May. We'll see where I get to. But until then, happy stitching, everyone.